Ms. Taylor, thank you so much for sending me this comment in your comment threads. I really appreciate it. And Ricky, why don't we talk about it, huh? Now, just by looking at this skull, it is a skull, trust me. What do you think this is? I'll give you a little bit of a moment to kind of figure it out. Okay. Well, it's an elephant skull. Yeah. Back in the day, I'm gonna get into your like mythological creatures here for a second, and then we'll get back into dinosaurs. But back in the day, people just never saw elephant skulls. They just didn't see it. They weren't around, and they started making up stories, which humans are really good at doing. So it kind of has a similar shape to our skulls, and well, we didn't know where the eyes were at the time, and we didn't realize that, well, that big hole in the middle, that's actually where the trunk goes for an elephant. And we thought that's where the eye went for a cyclops. Then you got replicas like this. This is from a real fossil. What's it look like? Well, it looks like a bird, right? But it's huge. It's like the size of a TV, like big head. So, well, we made up a story for this one too. A phoenix, a fire bird just covered in fire feathers that just rose from the ashes when it died, and all this fun, crazy stuff. But this is actually not a phoenix. This is actually called Phororhacos. It's a very hard name to pronounce. There's a lot of O's and R's all together, so forgive me for not getting it correct. But we made a story up for this guy too, and that's where phoenixes and griffins and stuff like that came from, because, well, those are giant eagle-like birds, right? This is a giant eagle-looking skull, and, well, we just didn't know what to call it, so we made up a story. I mean, look at the creatures that we have today. We have the Predator. We have Game of Thrones with their White Walkers. We have, the Xenomorph from Alien. Jason Voorhees would count, So humans have just this amazing imagination, and we're so creative. And our favorite thing to do is not only just make up stories and creatures and stuff like that, but have you ever looked at like wood grain? This stuff. Now, a while ago, there was a pretty big meme about somebody having a dog in their door. And it was just the way the wood grain grew and was, filed down and everything like that. And it kind of looked like a dog. Or you look at the clouds, you can pick out like pirate ships and squid monsters and dragons and stuff like that in the sky. It's just our imagination. It's obviously not there, but we were able to create that image through what we saw. And that's really where these mythological creatures come from. They're really just imaginary creatures that people think of because either they don't have a description of what they found in the ground via fossil, or they're just making stuff up like we do. Now, to bring it back to dinosaurs, I mean, it's the same thing. A giant head with all these razor sharp teeth. What do we call that? A dragon. But 200 years ago, when we started discovering dinosaurs like Megalosaurus and Iguanodon, well, we decided to actually categorize what they were. We knew they were reptilian. We knew that for a fact because Iguanodon means iguana tooth. So when we discovered it, we were like, that kind of looks like an iguana's tooth. So this is definitely a reptilian tooth, but we don't know what the rest of it looks like. But again, that was 200 years ago. So we definitely have better fossils. We've been able to piece together what Iguanodon and Megalosaurus and all the other dinosaurs pretty much kind of look like now. But that's the biggest thing. Fossils. Back then, we didn't have a lot of fossils because, well, we weren't looking for them. And now that we know that they're out there, we're looking all the time. I mean, look at Tyrannosaurus Rex. We've been studying Tyrannosaurus Rex for like 150 years. There's a reason why it's the most famous dinosaur of all time. We have so many nearly complete fossils of Tyrannosaurus Rex. Nothing 100%, but at least Sue, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, was 90% complete when found in the ground. The only thing missing from her was maybe a couple of toe bones and some vertebrae and some ribs, and honestly, that was about it. So at this point, we have the education, we have the know-how, we've done the science, we've discovered more species and more fossils of similar species. So we've been able to figure out what these things are, and since 200 years ago, we gave them the name dinosaur, terrible lizard, not bad lizard, but more great or grand or wowing. Is that a word? Basically, what I'm trying to say is that dinosaurs have been and will always be amazing animals. So that's why we gave them the name terrible lizard, when they're not related to lizards. On a side thing, they're not related to lizards at all. They're more related to birds than anything else, so just so you know. And a really good example of naming stuff, do you know the scientific name for a tiger or the scientific name for a lion? Well, I do. A tiger's scientific name is Panthera tigris, and then a lion's scientific name is Panthera leo. So they're part of the Panthera family. They are both Panthera, panther, but obviously they're very, very different. But that's how science works. That's how naming animals works. They're both big cats, Panthera, but one is more bulky and one is a little bit more slim. So lion, tiger. Categorizing, like I said earlier. But the biggest thing I think you should probably take, because this has been a nearly 7-minute video, and I apologize for that, but I love talking about this stuff. I would say we are just naming things, okay? Things, birds, like a toucan or an elephant or, a dog, they didn't have names before we showed up. We gave them names. Kind of like your parents gave you a name. You've been categorized as Ricky. I've been categorized as Kanati. So it's just one of those things where we're humans. We like to put things in little boxes and recheck those boxes and organize things, and it's how our brain works. But I really hope that helped. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask both of us about dinosaurs and stuff like that. I know Miss Taylor, she's following me. She asked me a bunch of questions. I love questions, so do me a favor, ask me any more questions you got. Anything about dinosaurs, I got you, man.